Those of you that will be joining on, let's see. Wait, why don't I see myself? What is happening? Oh, there I am. Ha! I figured it out. Yay. Okay. So I have Clubhouse going, I have Facebook Live, and I have YouTube Live. Let's see. So we're going to wait a few minutes and I'm going to bring up my friends and my little little, not little, I gotta stop saying these things. My trusting assistant co-host today, CJ Wheezy. I gotta ask him about that name. So let me get the Clubhouse going. I don't know if people can hear me on there, but here he is. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Ah, of course. Wait, I gotta ask about your name.
Okay.
What is Wheezy?
Well, I was in a Weezer cover band for like 20 years, and that's where it came from.
Ah,
When I first started my email, I wanted to know what I should name it, and it was Wheezy, and so it just kind of stuck after that.
okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny because I was like, okay, I was thinking in my head, does it have anything to do with Weezer? Because, I loved them, of
Yeah,
course.
I love them too. Their first two albums, especially. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's so funny because with the younger generations, they're like, Weezer, what? There's actually a
I
band named
know.
that. I remember my kids saying, I'm like, you gotta listen to it.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyways, we'll wait for, people to join and come in. And thank you for joining me today
Of
here
course.
on and off. And I just, I guess, I did want to ask you because we're talking about relationships, right? We're talking about dating. Well, I'm
Hmm.
always talking about it. I don't know if you are, but today, that's what we're talking about. And I have tons of, not tons of, but I have some really good questions that people have sent in. But you actually told me that you are choosing to be single.
I
So
am.
when I
Yeah.
hear people say that, I always want to know why, because to me, it's like, why?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I mean, I have had long relationships in my life. I'm in my early 40s, so probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I realized that being single for me was I was a better version of myself because there's still things as a person we're always trying to figure ourselves out, and there's still things I need to figure out about myself that would make me more compatible with someone. And I've made the mistake of kind of like ignoring that in the past and bringing somebody in, and then almost like having them go through it with me. And I feel like it's more mature for me to be more stable and more ready for a relationship that I can give more of myself to, instead of being kind of somebody that's still working on things that would make me a better person in the middle of it all. And so that's
Right.
kind of where I'm at. And plus, another reason is I'm pretty selfish with my time, and I have
That's not a
really
bad
enjoyed.
thing.
I've really enjoyed the single life for that reason. I don't have to really answer to anybody or anything. And so those are kind of the perks for it, but more so just so that I could have a more stable relationship. When I finally do have a relationship, it'll be more meaningful and stable instead of just kind of having somebody to have somebody.
Right. I think that's the key here is that a lot of my clients, I feel like they're trying to get into a relationship, or they get into a relationship is because they just don't want to be alone. And I know I've had this conversation with my own kids too, is because I felt there was times, at least with my oldest, you just, especially when you're far away from home, if you're in college, when you're younger, homesick, and a lot of people take that into later in their life and they end up, I mean, I have a lot of clients that have said, I probably shouldn't have been in that relationship at all, but I was lonely and
Right.
we go into it just to have someone. So I think that's a big thing. And I wanted to kind of so I'm going to come back to you. I do want to talk to you, but I want to start kind
Okay.
of answering some of these questions that I don't want to
Absolutely.
make this like a 2-hour show. So
Right. Right.
I appreciate your honesty. I
Of
still want to
course.
set you up because I want to set everything.
That's your nature.
It's so nature. It's my Russian Jewish mom thing.
Right.
So, but yeah, so I'll come back to you
Okay. Cool.
while I'm reading these. All right. So, you guys, have sent in some questions. And like I said, I have Clubhouse going too. I don't know if anyone's on there. I don't even know how to check things. So, this can go one of two ways, good or bad. But I do appreciate you all sending me some great questions. And then I've had some clients that have asked me questions over the years as well. So one of the first questions, and I printed them out because if I start posting them on here, you probably will never see them. So I'm very old school that way. But one of the first questions it came from a woman, and it was about online dating. So she asked, what if I like what the person wrote in his profile, but I hate his pictures? Some are shirtless and selfies, especially in the bathroom. I'm not laughing. It's just, this is like an everyday thing, an everyday question. Should I give him a chance anyway? So that's a big topic, like I said. Unfortunately, I do see a lot of men posting shirtless pictures on their online dating profile. I have even gotten some, as a matchmaker, I have gotten pictures from men to be clients, and they were shirtless and they were in the bathroom. One actually sent me a very, very interesting picture of with the stall, a public stall behind him as a selfie, which is just gross, So no, I think you should still give people a chance anyway, but that's completely unnecessary. If everything else is fine, if everything else you like that he wrote, and you like his profile, I am a big proponent of giving people a chance. I wish people would stop posting shirtless pictures in their online dating profile. I wish they would stop sending it to me. I had a guy who had a giant dragon tattoo on his chest, and that was one of the first pictures that he sent to me as well. So yeah, it's, I can't even make some of the stuff up. So that was the first question. I don't know if you're listening. She wanted to remain anonymous, but I hope that answers. I do think you should give him a chance. But tell him to stop posting online dating profile pictures, shirtless pictures. But I do want to bring up a horrible dater who is not a horrible dater, and I do know her, and she was gracious enough to have me on her show a couple of times. But I do want to ask her some questions about her dating life too. So please welcome Elisa. Horrible
Hi.
dater, I like that name. Okay, so
Thank you.
talk about it, because I've been wanting to interrogate you for a while now.
Great,
So,
perfect.
you can't go anywhere. Let's talk about your dating life, especially in LA. And I always ask my clients who live in LA, whether you are in the entertainment industry like you have been for a long time or not, what is it like dating in LA and being a, known in the public eye person?
Okay, so here's an example of something that happens to me. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Because I just got a new computer today, and I'm very excited about it. But I was worried about that. Yeah. Okay, so this guy is texting me right now, and this is what he said. Okay, so he hasn't talked to me in 6 months. He hasn't texted me. He hasn't called me. Nothing in like 6 months. And then today he called me, which is very rude. Like to just call out of nowhere after you, like, I feel like before you call someone, you should text them and say, I'm going to call. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
well, I think most people nowadays just don't want to be talking on the phone, and it's all about texting. I'm huge about calling, just picking up the phone and calling. I don't think it's
really?
rude that he did that. I think it's rude that it's been 6 months. You haven't talked to him, haven't heard from him, and then all of a sudden he is he's just showing up out of nowhere. So
yeah, this guy's like really fucked up. So I met him at like some random, like Andy had invited me to someone's apartment, and I went, and it's usually weird when he does that. And this guy was one of the guys.
Andy Dick.
Yeah. So he invited me to someone's apartment. I went to the apartment, and this guy was like very much physically my type. He was really tall and lanky, and he was cool. And he had a cool job. Like he's an agent, like a Hollywood agent. And he's like sexy. He's a very sexy guy. So I was like,
Right.
oh my God, you know, and there was a lot of model types there and everything. So I just ignored him. And I was with Andy, who was like sleeping, right? So I was with Andy. Andy was sleeping, and then this like sexy guy was like talking to all these models and stuff. I'm like, oh, like who's that? You know? And then eventually, you know, I just figured, you know, if it's meant to be, if I'm meant to talk to him, I'll talk to him. So then at the end of the night, we talked, and I could see, I'm like, okay, this is something. This is like somebody that I could actually talk to, that is intelligent, and he was funny, and he had it all. But he was drunk, like a little drunk that night. So I'm like, oh, I hope this isn't one of these drunk friends. Yeah. So I was upset about that. And then he didn't call me for a long time. And then he started calling me at like 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Like, what the fuck? This guy, like, and then he told me, oh, he works from home now. I'm like, oh, that's not a good sign. And it was just really bad. So then today he called me, and of course I didn't pick up. And then he's like, hey, and I'm like, what's up? Then he says, I'm just trying to say hi in a respectful time. So he remembered that I told him not to call me in the middle of the night. So he says, I'm just trying to say hi at a respectful time. You pop up from time to time, and I just want to make sure you're well. So I was like, oh, that's nice. Maybe he changed, you know, maybe he changed. I said, okay, thanks. They says, per our convos. And I said, yeah, everything's good. That's very nice. And then he wrote, single still or no? I am. I'm horrible at courting. The best I can do is say, do you want to go to Sundance Film Festival, then Coachella, then Cannes? I don't know, it's Cannes, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, then he says, I'm not Andy Dick or any of that crowd. So I don't know. Yeah.
All right. I mean, but he has been 6 months. So what is his? I mean, does he still think that you are still engaged and you're still dating, Andy? I mean, why has it been gone 6 months?
I think he's trying to figure that out, but it's just so rare that I meet anyone, because my problem is, like, I work with like the same 10 people all the time. So those are the only people I see. And they're married or like just not a prospect at all, right? So those are the only people I know. And then after work, I'm too tired to like hit the bar scene. And this guy's the only somewhat normal guy I've met in the last year. So it's just hard, because I know like I have a lot to offer. I know I could be good for someone, but the people that I meet, and I don't have I don't have a lot of opportunity, and there's no way that I could do online dating, because I just don't have the patience for it.
Right. Well, it's not coming in the middle of the night, so that's good news. So maybe he's learned something. But I mean, I would say what happens. But I mean, if he doesn't ask you out on an actual date to go out to dinner, to go for a drink,
I think like one drink could be good, because then I could just say, I could tell, I could just tell right away with someone if like, that's the thing. When I was talking to him, it wasn't bad. Usually it's very bad, very, very bad. So he, when I spoke with him, I was like, oh, you know what? This guy's actually kind of funny, and in a more normal way, and so I was impressed that one night, and I was attracted to him. He was sexy in a way that I didn't really understand. But I said, okay, I can imagine myself with this guy. So I want to talk to him, but I'm scared. Like once I start thinking, oh, maybe I like this person, I get scared to talk to them, because I know they're going to fuck it up.
You're going to fuck it up, or they're going to fuck it up?
Either way. Okay. Everyone.
Well, it's funny, because I was just going to say, watch the red flags. And then my friend and colleague, Ann Parnes, I kept saying Parnes, and I know that's not Parnes. I've known her forever. I think everybody calls her that.
Oh, really? I see her. She just wrote that. That's a red flag, what I said.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Watch the red flags, because she's also a matchmaker. She's actually in New Orleans. And I would give him a chance, but I would watch it. I would watch the red flags. Plus, if you guys just keep texting and texting, you don't need a pen pal. You need a man who will actually ask you out to dinner, ask you out to go out, not just be texting back and forth. So see what happens. But I mean, just like I said, watch it, like Ann saying, same thing. So I wouldn't be scared. I think this is normal. We're all afraid to mess things up. But and then CJ was laughing in the background, so I'm gonna bring him up and see what was.
Hey, Lizzie.
Hi.
Do you know who she's talking about, or you just laughing because?
No, I was laughing because it's funny to hear that version of the story, because I feel like she probably has like 1,000 of those stories. That's something that you hear so often, is the guy hitting him up at 2 a.m., 4 a.m. I wonder what that's about.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like no one should do that, and I actually think it's bad to call. Like, I think it's very respectful to send a text and say, when are you available to talk?
Right. In today's world.
Not that. I mean, sorry, not to interrupt. No, because I'm a big big believer in just talking. So I'm the first to just pick up the phone and call. And if they can't answer, then they can't answer and they won't, and they'll call you back, right? But there was something that I heard the other day, and I don't know if I was reading it somewhere or someone was talking about it, and it was who was, God, I can't remember who it was. It was a gay man who was saying that I have always, maybe it was on social media, but he was saying that I'm always very worried when I'm friends with a woman, because she always has a guard up, right? Until she knows I'm gay. Once she knows I'm gay, then it's almost like she breathes a sigh of relief, like, okay, I can put down that wall. I know he's not trying to get with me. I know he's not trying to get in my pants. He's not trying to date me. So he was saying, why can men understand that this is what a woman's life always like? We're always on guard. We always have this wall up. We're always scared that there's going to be an ulterior motive, that there's going to be something else, right? So I think maybe talking about this is going to help men to kind of realize that, look, we're all scared, we're all worried, but we're also women. We're also have this wall up, right? What are his intentions, right?
Well, don't you think men have walls up too, though, Julia?
They do, but not the same ones like ours. They're not worried about getting raped. Typically, they're not worried about getting taken advantage of physically, so it's different. It's a different dynamic, so and it's interesting we say that, because I actually have someone waiting to talk to.
Okay.
Who I did. So I'm going to come back to you guys. I'm going to bring.
Okay, I'm just going to watch the show, but I just want to say big Wheezy fan.
Thanks, Elise.
And Julia.
Aw, thank you.
She's the best.
She is. Okay, so I'm going to bring her up. And her name is Sequoia. And she is, I talked to her. I don't know if people have listened to my podcast. Hopefully they have. I had her on. We talked about all things love and relationships and intimacy and everything. And I love her. And I love your hair. I'm cutting mine. You're growing yours. Welcome.
Hi, honey.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm recovering from a cold from this last winter, but I'm doing good. Thanks for inviting me. I'm so glad you're doing this.
Of course. Well, it sounds like everybody is recovering from something,
I know, right?
I swear this thing is like everybody has it, which, we've had a couple of really close calls too. So, but hopefully I'm glad it was just a cold. But So chime in about this whole thing, which to me, this whole thing, when I read about the gay man that was talking about the women in his life and how he always feels like this, this guard up with women. And he wishes that straight men would understand that most women are just terrified of what their intentions are first, right? And let's tell people a little bit about what you do, and then we can kind of go into all of that.
Sure. Well, I'm an author and a Tantra educator, and I teach people how to have relationships that work. And really, the part of relationships that most people think is just going to work normally or naturally when they fall in love is the intimacy. So I help people with intimacy that has dysfunction, and I help them to recover from intimacy dysfunction, sexual dysfunction, and all of the relationship challenges that go along with those kind of problems.
Well, and you have a fan who says Sequoia is cool as hell, and she is cool as hell.
who is my fan? I'm on my phone because I'm actually I can't read it, so I actually
his name is Leaf King. I don't know, honestly.
Well, I have no idea who this is, but thanks. Hi,
nicknames. I know. I was just telling CJ or Wheezy. I maybe it's an immigrant in me. I just don't understand the whole nickname thing, so I'm always like, what is your name? Just give me your name. What I go by, whatever, so anyway, so it's interesting that you actually came on here as I was about to read this one question, and I get this all the time, and you and I have talked about it as well. This man actually wrote into me a while ago, and like I said, I had to print them out because otherwise, I can't figure out how to put anything on the screen. It's already there. So And his question was, how do people in long relationships don't get bored with each other in the bedroom? Which is a
Oh, so
huge
important.
topic, right? Especially for people, couples that have been together for a long time. I mean, it could be, 5 years for some, and for others, it could be 10, 20, and more, right? My
Right.
parents have been married for, well, let's see, I'm 45, so 46 years, 47 years, and they don't seem to get bored of each other sexually. So
Hmm.
I'm always asking them, like, why, how? I mean, it's one person, right? It's
Right.
just the same person every day. What are you doing, right? So do you have a, I guess a short answer for this? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't remember how long our podcast interview was. I think it was over an hour long, but
Well,
we did address that, right? It
right,
was, that is one of the reasons people come and see me, is because, um, they love the partner that they have, but they become more like friends than,
a roommate.
adventurous in the bedroom. And uh, this is one of the reasons why I like to support people to become what I call sacred partners. And sacred partners take a few things to add to your relationship. A level of spirituality, and it can be whatever spirituality you have. For me, it's Buddhist, Tantra, and shamanism. But I grew up with grandparents that were Presbyterian and more Christian. I have very close and close friends and lovers who are Israeli, and so Hebrew is definitely part of their spirituality. But nature could be part of your spirituality. Whatever your
Hebrew
spirituality
language,
is, what's that?
Judaism.
Judaism.
Judaism
Thank you.
or Judaism. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um,
No, it could be the language. I mean, if somebody
yeah.
spoke to me in a foreign language, that would be
Yeah.
pretty hot too. So
Exactly. I mean,
never,
whatever your spirit is desiring, sacred partnership requires some growth of your consciousness. Let's put it that way. But the main thing that sacred partners really need is sexual exploration, curiosity, and growth. With all relationships, if you're not growing, you're dying. There is no such thing as a
true.
plateau. Like, it is just, if it's not actually in motion, then it's a flat line. And we all know what flat line is. Flat line is when your heart stops moving, it is death. So if your relationship is not growing and going up in the growth spiral, then it's going down. And I call that decomposition, death, destruction.
Right.
So I think
Makes sense.
the answer to your question is curiosity, exploration,
Right.
coming from a beginner's mind, and being really interested in how your partner's body actually works.
Right.
I think I did tell you when we were talking on the podcast, Dr. Ruth is one of my heroes,
I
heroines.
love.
Amazing woman. I was 12 when I first listened to her on the radio. I love that this is now, modern day radio, what you're doing right here on
Right.
this podcast. This is awesome. And when I was 12, my sister was 13, and we were listening to, those old transistor radios. We were dialing in, and we dialed into this Russian woman talking about blowjobs. And we were like, oh my God.
It wasn't me because that's
12.
all I
And
talk about.
it's so good. And I was like,
Um,
this is a woman who's normalizing sex conversation. Now, I was born in 1970, and back then it was a sin to have sex before marriage and everything like that. So, a Russian sex therapist talking on the radio about how to give a blowjob to your partner was like jaw dropping.
right.
And I have to say that, she normalized the conversation in the media for all of us to talk about it with ourselves and our partners. But she normalized masturbation. I remember she told us that like it's really important to masturbate. Look, you can't know what feels good in your body to tell your partner,
Unless
you know,
you
what to
do it
explore
yourself, right?
if you don't
Exploring.
know how to do it yourself.
Yeah. And
So
it's
exploration is
fascinating to
important.
me, not to interrupt you, it's
Yeah,
fascinating
yeah.
to me that she actually was, a Holocaust survivor, and she has had such a tough life, but to turning into something else and to help people, and it's amazing. But I think we have a question, and I'm gonna give this guy one chance because I have heard him before, and he gets one chance and then he's blocked. So
Be good. Be good.
we're gonna try, and for support, I'm gonna bring up CJ because he's my support system with these people. So, CJ, are you there? Say
Yeah, yeah.
hello to Sequoia.
Hello, Sequoia. It's nice to meet
Hi,
you.
CJ. Nice to meet you too. Keep
Yeah.
this container safe, man.
Yes,
I will try. I
please
promise.
do.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm gonna bring him up and see what questions he's got. Hello, Brian.
Brain.
Hi,
Brian.
nice to be here. It's my pleasure. I don't, I don't understand why you would give me that kind of introduction where if it says anything wrong, I mean, like, does my
I'll tell you why. I'll tell
reputation
you why,
precede
but
me,
that's
or
another
does my
show.
reputation precede me? Is that the problem?
I believe
Like,
last
I'm
time.
I'm just probing, like, why?
Sure.
That's all.
Okay. Well,
Not a
let
problem.
me answer. So the last time you didn't like what I was saying, and you went after my physical attributes or what I was wearing or what my hair was in. Therefore, from now on, every time I do the show, my whatever is happening, my hair is gonna get more crazier and
You
crazier.
look great today, by the way.
Comments.
Just
Okay,
saying.
because
You
You
I
look
do
can
look
do
great.
whatever I want.
you look very beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. So
So does the
that's
other
why.
female on the
Did you
panel who's named after a tree. I don't
It's a
understand.
beautiful name, Brain.
Yeah.
what?
Sequoia. What are you
It
gonna?
is a beautiful
You're named
name.
after a
Look,
tree.
there's some sequoias back
Okay,
there.
I'm gonna mute you for a second. I'm gonna answer your question. Okay. Why do you feel the need to go after people each time? Maybe that's the reason why you're still single. You went after me, you went after Elisa, you went after every woman out there. Maybe it says something about you,
Julia.
and you don't allow people to finish. You talk, you talk, you talk, you talk. You don't let people finish. So, was that your question, or was there another question?
No, I have.
That was
Thanks
it.
for unmuting me. Okay. My question is.
Yes.
The question is.
She's great.
I find it hard to navigate relationships in social media, right? Because due to COVID, right? We're all staying home more, right? We don't go to bars, we don't go out, right? We don't socialize as much, so we're stuck at home, right? So we engage a lot on social media, correct? These
Right.
days, right? So why are so many women on social media so awful? Like I meet the most horrific,
Okay. Define awful.
using like horrible human beings imaginable. Like I mean, I'm sure
Okay,
women
define
meet horrible
awful.
men as well. It's not a gender specific thing,
Yeah, Brain, what do you
but
mean by awful? She's trying to ask you that. Keep
Right.
on going.
What do you mean by that?
what do I mean by awful?
Because you're
The
supposed to
grass
be
is
in a
up.
relationship, from what I understand. So I don't know what you're doing in online dating. All right. But okay,
No,
let's
my relationship is
Was
online
an
because I
online
haven't
dating, yeah.
flown to North Carolina to meet her yet. So
okay.
it's
So
not in my general vicinity where I could just go meet her. I would have to fly. It's
okay.
it's a
Okay, I
whole
understand.
ordeal, right?
But
So
when you say by
I'm
awful,
trying to be respectful, I
but do
swear.
you think that they're rubbing off of you and your energy and whatever you're putting out there, and they're just responding to it? Because I have had a negative reaction to you. A lot of people on here have had too. So Do you think it may be something you're putting out there? Because you come on, even when you first
So
came
I
on.
have to be like
I'm still
wheezy.
talking, so I'm just gonna mute you. I'm sorry. I'm still talking. So
Oh, you're handling him so perfect. This is great,
I'm
Julia.
sorry, CJ. Am I wrong?
No,
Like,
you don't need me at all. I mean, like you're handling him perfect. I'm so impressed.
Sequoia, would you like to weigh in? My point was that from day one, he asked me a question, but it's so negative and he comes off so negative that I can see how if it's someone trying to date him, immediately we just become so turned off. I mean, everything I'm reading from you, I'm getting is just negative, negative, negative. You called women horrible. You said something about Sequoia being dull already in the comments. I just saw it. Like, why are you coming in so negative?
No, I'm not coming in negative. I was making a dumb joke about it being a tree. I'm sorry. I meant nothing about it by it.
No, that was before. That was
It's
the
a
second.
cute name.
We're gonna let him go because I've had enough of this negativity. You know?
You handled him
So-
like a boss, an absolute boss. Yeah, I was a little nervous, but you killed it.
I
Yeah.
will comment though, if that's okay, Julia.
Please, please.
So what I find with a lot of us humans, especially after this crazy last 2 years of the pandemic, is we've all lost the ability to really function socially, and part of that that shows up in situations is our defense mechanisms. And Brian is showing his survival mechanism. His survival mechanism is to make jokes, and for him, that's how he is trying to make sure that he's safe. In most relationships, we're all trying to feel safe. And the way we act out our survival patterns sometimes works for some people and it doesn't work for others. So while I don't know Brian, and as I told you earlier, I can't even read my screen, so I'm not offended by anything he wrote because I
Good.
can't see any of it.
Good.
That's my defense mechanism.
Well, that's what happens, when we put ourselves out there. And I feel like as an educator, as a coach, this is, I've grown so used to this kind of stuff because when
Yeah.
people don't like the feedback they're getting, the first reaction is to become defensive and become negative and then start attacking the person that is giving the advice. So,
Well,
for
he's
me,
actually commenting on the things that he's actually doing. So he's getting reflected back at him the way then this is what you were saying is what I'm hearing you say is that he's putting out there this, what I'm saying is his defense mechanism that's very negative, and what he's getting reflected back at him on social media from women is their defense mechanism, which is basically the negativity that he's putting out. So like attracts like. That's very much proved in, at least in homeopathy.
That's what we put out there. And the bottom line is what happens online, especially in over text. And this is, when I was talking to Elisa earlier, why I'm such a huge, huge proponent of talking versus texting is
agreed.
You don't know the tone. You don't know what people are saying, but this is all the people are doing is texting. Do you know how many times during the day I get in a fight with, my own children or family members is because you read it in a negative way. You don't know what the tone is. So even if it's a simple sentence, it can be read, in a really bad way. So
context is very important on all communications. And if you don't know the context of how the person was sending it, and you're assuming it's coming from your own personal view of whatever's going on, then you're going to read it wrong. And the filters that you're either listening to it or reading it is going to affect the way you take the information. So, and you also have to consider that when you send a message or you post something, when people read it, it's going to be consumed through their filters. So you have to be careful in all communications and never rely on a text message or written communication, you have to make sure that you talk to the person. Definitely, communication
think,
is so important.
and because most people go to the negative first before
Oh,
positive. Just like,
absolutely.
with the whole thing with Yelp, most people will go and post a negative comment before they post a positive comment. That's why I have such a, love and hate relationship with Yelp. Most business people do, right? It's because most likely you're going to get a negative comment before the 5 positive ones, right? So,
Right. People
um,
who are squeaky wheels tend to be squeaky wheels complaining versus squeaky wheels praising.
right.
So, and there's a buffer zone in online communication where you basically can say whatever you want. Nobody's going to attack you physically. So
Right. And you're
you
more
have to,
likely to
yeah,
say whatever is on your mind. And that's
right,
the issue I have with all the nicknames too, is
yeah,
because you can call yourself whatever you want, and
right.
nobody, and then it's tough. It's tough. I keep saying you might be an immigrant to me that I just don't get it. Just give me your name. What is your name? Your given name. I'm like, well, I go by whatever. But it's the same thing with comments behind the computer. You can say whatever you want. So, and I
Right.
just wanted to say that I think if anyone has a question, wants to actually come on camera, I think CJ has the link, because by the time I figure out how to send the link on here, or maybe I can't. Let me see. Did this work? Oh my God. If this worked, then I'm a tech genius. Did that work? Can
Oh
people
my
see
God,
that?
you are
Oh,
so freaking
CJ's,
adorable. I am
uh,
so glad to see you again.
no, I think, yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. Well, Brian Brain is still there. I don't know if I want to give him another chance. And I truly want to help people, but I feel like sometimes people don't deserve the help because they just keep attacking, and nothing is really sinking in, and they're not internalizing that advice. They're not internalized, probably a bad word, but they're not trying to learn from it. It's just always yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, you know what I mean? And I'm sure you get a lot of that with your clients as well. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with clients who just will not take your advice?
Yeah, you know, I work really hard with my clients to teach what I call creative. I told you I'm recovering from a cold, so I just had a
That's
brain
okay.
fart. Curate courageous vulnerability, and the
Good.
way I teach that is that I template it for people. So I am very courageously vulnerable with my clients. Everything is confidential when I work with someone, and the first thing I do with people is I really get to know them, and I have a lot of empathy for what they're going through. I acknowledge who they are. I make sure that they understand that I see them. When I say I see them, I mean that I really get
You feel it.
who they
Feel.
are, and I can feel it. I reflect back to them what I
Mm,
think I'm hearing them say. And it's really amazing what that practice can do for intimate relationships. And I'm not just talking about my relationships with my clients, but by being this way for my clients, then they're actually seeing how the result of that courageous vulnerability and being seen and gotten by another human being witnessed in their
right.
vulnerability, that they can actually let down their guard, because I'm not going to hurt them. I'm not going to use what they say against them,
You're there
and
to help, and
they they
for
feel
their
held.
benefit. Right.
And then when they're working on now talking to their partners about the issues that they've come to see me about, then they now have an experience of, they're not going to die by saying I'm feeling vulnerable right now,
Or
and
hurt.
they go back into it and they talk to each other with more mastery in this vulnerable state. And
Mm,
I'm teaching them how to be even more vulnerable in their sexuality. So, and a lot of these people have, different kinds of dysfunction, right? So
Right.
they're
So,
expressing how hard it is. That's the
mhm.
name of my first book, It's Hard. How hard it is to actually
Wait,
talk.
can we give him the full name? Yes,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
love
yeah.
that. So your book
Yeah.
is called It's Hard,
Yes, it's
but there's
hard.
more to it.
It's hard. Sexual satisfaction secrets to beat erectile dysfunction.
There we go. I love that.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I like how Leaf Kick just said people who pay for advice and ignore it are baffling. Yes, they
Yeah,
are.
they're
And
totally baffling.
same goes
But
with matchmaking, coaching, relationships,
exactly.
everything. It's shocking to me, and I've asked people that you realize you paid me money,
Right.
right? Like, do you want me to? I'm here to help you. So there is someone that wants to come on and clearly has a question, but he doesn't have a shirt on, so we're not going to bring him up. Bye. Come back when you have a shirt. I don't know how to kick people out of here, but Witz, WITZ, you need to go get a shirt. This is ridiculous. What? I mean, I'm sorry. Is this America? Is this what it is? Is there no common sense? Do you think this is a porn show? What? I'm sorry.
Was it a woman or a man? It was a
Man,
him.
oh, I wish it
Okay.
would be a woman. It's never a woman. It's always a man. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I
Sorry,
mean,
this is turning out to be I don't know what. But okay. I'm gonna go to another question. I'll come back to you. Sequoia, I'll come back to you. Sorry. I don't I never want to just, kick people out and be rude. So I'm gonna read one more question and then Charmin. Why am I never saying her? Is it Charmin or Charmin? You told me it's like the toilet paper. I swear. My pronunciation of names is terrible, so I apologize. But let me read one other question. So there was oh, I see. Okay, so she watched a video a while ago. She says, "I heard you speak a while ago. I couldn't stay long, but you said something about going for the quietest person in the room. Can you elaborate?" Oh, I couldn't find the video online. It was from a woman. Okay, so yeah, and I think it was when I was talking to Elisa Jordana, which was on her show, was about picking the wrong people. And women seem to pick the loudest guy, the most popular guy, the most funniest, the most interesting. And I always say go for the quietest guy because, he really is there for you and he's putting you on a pedestal. And it's so I don't know if that's what she's talking about. That's what I was talking about. Go for the quietest guy. Don't go for the crazy popular Mr. Jock, Mr. Popular guy. So I'm gonna bring on Charmin and see. Hi.
Hi,
You,
how are you?
you always look like you're going to prom. You
It's
look
the hair.
beautiful. It's
Thank
there.
you. I appreciate it. You
How
look
are you?
fantastic. I love the headband.
You know what? I chopped it off so short that now I'm like, this is what's gonna happen for a while now till it's grown.
It looks wonderful and you should embrace it. The earrings are spectacular. You have a very pinup girl look to you. You should work it for as long as you can.
You know what? Someone told me that a while ago. I would be interested in doing one of those photo shoots because that would
Aren't
be
those?
fun,
Those
right?
really are a lot of fun. I love those photo shoots. You should do it and then
I'm
tell
thinking
us
about it
tell us where we can do it too so that everybody
for
can get
sure.
pinup girl shots.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I have a question for you about online personas. There is a
Ooh,
new theory that I have been told recently that people uh, think it is okay to have a different online persona than who they are in the real world. And that doesn't work for me. Much like you don't like the nicknames, for me, who you are when you think no one's looking is who you are. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I think this is the world we live in now.
Mhm.
And I think if you're doing this for a character, if you're an actor, that's one thing, right? But if you are trying to put yourself out there and trying to meet people, but yet you have a different persona, honestly, I don't understand it. And I don't think anyone can ever truly get to know you that way because who are they getting to know? The side A or side B, right? So I
Correct.
don't know if is that what you've encountered with dating, with relationships, or just in general?
Just recently, it's something that I have encountered in this online community that I am part of. I met somebody who behaves different ways at different times. Their behavior isn't consistent. And their excuse is it's an act for shock value. I find it repulsive.
It is.
And it seems to be a very convenient excuse.
I
Is this
would
just
stay away from that, from those type of people. I mean,
I actually have a
especially-
question for Sequoia too, if it's
Yes, let me
possible.
bring her back. Yes. There she is.
Hi. I understand that you help trauma survivors and people who have sexual dysfunction. What is the first piece of advice that you give to a trauma survivor that comes to you?
Thank you for asking that.
Huge.
Well, first, I would say that every one of us is traumatized by something, and all of us can feel the different aspects of trauma when we think about something that has affected us in a traumatic way. For me, when I was the age of 6, my grandfather died tragically. He was a mechanic, and he was crushed by his car. And I was a 6-year-old who used to help him when he was doing different mechanic work on the car. I would hand him wrenches. So I was traumatized by losing this man that I loved. Now, that's not a sexual trauma, but anyone can imagine to a 6-year-old's mind that that was very traumatic. I basically created a whole life of not letting anybody do stupid things like get crushed by cars. I know it sounds stupid, but I understand trauma very well because I have had several traumas, including being sexually assaulted at work, and different things. So I've healed from different sexual traumas of my own. And one of the first things that is the most important for anybody who's traumatized is to know that they're safe, to know that there is a container, a foundation of trust, respect, and safety with the person that they are working through the trauma with, whether it's your partner that you're working through the trauma with, or a therapist or a medical professional. If a traumatized person does not feel safety, trust, and respect by the other person, they will not open up. They will not start to release those traumas. And for me, that is the most important first step. And a lot of us who try to get traumas healed, we think just going to a doctor or a therapist or a psychiatrist is going to do it for us. But sometimes those environments are not feeling that safe. So for someone who is traumatized by anything, what my advice would be is to find someone who has all three: trust, respect, and safety. And if you can feel that with the person, then you can be courageously vulnerable and share some of the things that have got stuck in your psyche and your somatic body, for releasing those traumas. Does that help?
It does. Can you explain the somatic body for people who may not have heard that phrase before?
Sure. So a lot of us think of, psychotherapy as, a way to heal from things like psychological anxiety and psychological trauma, but that's just the mind part of a human being. There's the mind, body, and spirit, and the body actually is a memory bank, and the memory bank of the body holds things like pleasure and memories of the past, like the first time you had your first kiss, but it also holds trauma, If you've ever been in a car accident, your body remembers feeling that jolt, and and also it holds the memory of sexual trauma. So sometimes a woman, while she's having sex, if she had trauma during a sexual encounter, she can feel pain in her body, in her genitalia, that feels like glass or like burning. And it's not that it's actually happening then, but the body is remembering and having an emotional response exhibited by the physical form that shows up in these different ways. And so oftentimes when I work with someone who has had sexual trauma, I am creating a safe space, as I described before, and then I'm helping them to feel a pleasurable experience through like this portal of somatic pain so that we clear it out of the system. And sometimes it's stuck in there energetically and we have to actually pull it out. And there's also the trauma of the spirit too. And because I'm both a body worker, I also work with shamanic spiritual healing. So I can help their spirit actually heal from a trauma as well, because sometimes when a trauma happens, the soul and the spirit splits off, and it's
Yeah, they talk about that a lot.
Yeah,
soul
so-
fragments.
yeah,
Right,
and
you see your body actually some like hovering above whatever is actually happening with you. But I just want to ask really quickly on that topic, as you were mentioning, is that similar to the is it EMDR therapy? You've heard of that, right? Which is where you actually are experiencing that pain again, so you could move on, right? It's like eye and hands and
yes. That's actually a beautiful therapy to actually deal with trauma, because you don't have to relive the trauma, but you actually are held in a safe space and you work through it. So it actually, what I would describe is it vibrates its way out of the body, because that trauma in the somatic body, it gets stuck and it doesn't move all the way through. So what someone doing that therapy would do is help it move through so it leaves the body instead of stays and creates disease and dysfunction. It's a really great question. I really appreciate it.
Now, the spiritual healing that you do you do Reiki or are you doing something else?
No, I'm actually a certified master healer of full spectrum energy medicine, and we do Reiki is limited to it's a beautiful technique and it works beautifully, but I do a full spectrum. So I work with all the chakras and the energy body, and I use Tantra to also help process things that are going on in the body. The shamanic version of what I was just talking about is called soul retrieval, and soul retrieval is an ancient technique from the natives that basically goes back to the spirit of the person and asks the spirit to come back to wholeness and to retrieve those parts of your soul that split off to protect you, but didn't find its way back. And that's generally what happens when someone has a very big shock, where part of their spirit kind of goes into hiding until it's safe again to come out. And sometimes we think about this when like someone needs to embrace their inner child and bring back that inner child that was scared out of their mind because of something that happened. So I do a version of soul retrieval as well.
Now, is that something that someone who's been heavily traumatized would have to do more than once, or is that a one-hit wonder kind of thing?
You know, I can't just say a blanket statement, because everything that I do is customized to what the person needs. Soul retrieval is a really beautiful practice, but it definitely does include keeping a meditative practice where you're constantly, not constantly like every day, but where you have a relationship now with that soul part of you that you're embracing back into your heart and your overall you basically are making sure that the relationship is kept healthy and well, so that soul part doesn't ever want to like go back into hiding. So what
Makes
I
sense.
do with people is I teach them how to actually have that relationship. So I might have several sessions with them, but once the link is back there, it's really up to the person, and I support them to keep that relationship with that part of the soul.
That's awesome. Well, we could
No,
talk about that forever. Let me just let me answer another question here.
absolutely.
I
Thank
know
you.
we can go into many different directions, I'm sure.
Right.
So Coach Erica Love wants to know what I think about people dating more than one person at a time. That's a great question. I think it's an amazing thing as long as all the parties are aware. In
Mhm.
fact, Sequoia and I did talk about that on my podcast, which is called "Someone Had to Say It," and we had a whole thing about it, which I think it's an amazing thing. Not everyone can be monogamous, or maybe not
Mm.
for a long time, or maybe for periods of time. So as long as all the parties are aware and you're not exclusive with just one person, I don't see anything wrong with that. And I think, it's very, the dating that goes on here in the Western world is very different than it is in the relationships in Europe, in other parts of the world. People don't get so hung up on the one person, because one person can't be your all and everything. You can't be a great provider, a great lover, a great husband, great father, great everything. So it's not such a big thing for people to have multiple partners in other parts of the world. But here it is still so taboo, and it's so looked down upon, and it's the end of the world. My husband cheated, my wife cheated. And I wish it wasn't. I really wish, like what Sequoia says, that people would communicate about these things. And sometimes people need different partners for different needs. And if we all communicated, if everybody just talked about it, it would not be so taboo. So,
Right.
that's
Now,
my opinion.
is it more common in other places, especially in Europe, for women to have more than one partner, or for men to have more than one partner?
Well, it used to be for men, right? Because
Mhm.
men can do whatever. Oh, he's a
Right.
man, he needs it. But I think, in fact, I was looking up numbers actually. It is more women now having affairs and having multiple partners than men. I think it used to be, like 60% of men or whatever it is, but it's actually more women now than men. I think because as women have become more independent, they have their own careers, they have their own money, they're not afraid to step out of that bubble, that they're in. So, but that's just my opinion. And I think it's a healthier way to live when you can talk to people, right? When you can communicate with your partner
Yes,
about.
as long as everybody is
Amen.
aware and everyone's participating, have as much fun as you wanna have.
Right, right. So thank you, Coach Erica Love, for that question. But so let me read some more questions before. Oh my gosh, it's been an hour. I kept saying this was going to be a 30-minute show, but it never is. So okay, so there's a lot, but I'll just pick one. Oh, this was a good one from a man. I love this one. Why do women post photos from 10 years ago and still call them recent? I met someone off Bumble recently. Her photos were great, but when we met each other, I was shocked. Oh, wow. She looks so much older and nothing like her pictures. Why do they do that? Whoa. So first of all, and CJ's laughing again. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I know you're single, but I know you've
Yeah.
done online dating. It's not just the women that do that.
No,
Well,
not at all. Yeah.
I mean, men do this kind of shit
Of
all the time.
course.
Am I
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You have to like be a detective these days to figure out if it's a recent photo or not.
Well, and that's interesting you say that, because I was working with a client. We're doing online dating, and I was looking at the pictures that the man posted. In fact, some of the matchmakers that I work with, and they send me profiles, I send them profiles, and I can tell by what the person is wearing, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
oh my God, this is the 90s,
Or their
right?
phone. You're like,
Or
wait a
the
minute.
phone,
Yeah.
or what, or even bags, women's handbags. If it's in the
Oh
picture,
yeah.
you can
Yeah.
tell that this is not a recent picture.
Why do you, let me ask you a question about that. Like, what makes them think that they can get away with it? Do they think that they can charm the person so much that they won't care when they meet that that they lied about their looks?
I think you got it. I think that's exactly what it is. It's shocking to me because, first of all, when they come to me, I have a whole form on my website and they have to add pictures because I need to see what they look like. And
Mhm.
then we meet and I confirm, that this is in fact what they look like. But I always ask them that, like, why did you send me this picture? This is clearly not recent. Well, this was when I looked thin, or this is
Well,
my
that's
best
not you
year.
now. Yeah. That
Right.
doesn't make
So
sense.
anyway, that was very interesting. But let me see. There's other questions, but yeah, an attraction, you're right. Attraction shouldn't be fully based around looks, but I have known men not only post pictures from 10 years ago, 5 years, whatever it is, but people lie about their age. And that
Oh
is a
yeah.
huge pet peeve of mine too, for men and for
Mhm.
women. So I thought that, that was, I know I see Sequoia shaking her head. Yeah, what is that? Okay. I am all the time I see this.
I have to tell you, I'm 5'11", and in shoes, I'm 6 foot tall.
Wow.
So when
Yeah.
I was online dating, which was 10 years ago, I I remember um, men who said that they were 6 foot tall. Inevitably, they were no taller than 5'10". So
Mhm.
I don't know why they do it. I mean,
It's not a winning
I'm
strategy.
I am pretty accurate. I'm like, look, I'm 5'11", and in shoes, I'm gonna be
You're leaving. This
six
is me.
four. So you
Right.
want to make sure that you're not lying because I'm gonna know that you're not that tall. I
That's
It's
don't know
funny.
why they
usually,
do it.
I have noticed a lot with men that they'll kind of like put a little buffer on it. So like they'll say, I'm 5'10", and I meet him, I'm like, I'm 5'1", and I'm wearing heels, and we're like very close. Like I know I can see the top of your head. And he's like, well, with shoes and everything, I'm 5'10". I'm like, how tall are your freaking shoes? What are you like heels over there? Like you're really like maybe 5'7", like. And my son the other day, I don't know why he was saying he was 5'7". I'm like, you're not 5'7", you're like 5'8", 5'9". He's like, Mom, I think you've been around your clients a little too long. I am 5'7", we're short people. But I'm so used to men doing that he doesn't like. It's almost like to me now, I'm like, oh yeah, this looks like 5'9". No.
It's 5'2".
So what I do have to say about this is that integrity is a really big deal to me, and authenticity is, personal integrity
To
as far
most
as I'm concerned.
people,
What's that?
to most people, I
Yeah,
think, right?
yeah. So if someone is going to not be truthful about that, that's one of the first things that I'm just like, look, I
It's a red
need
flag.
someone who I can trust because I'm about to, if I'm going to get an intimate romantic relationship with someone, I need to know that when I open my legs to them, that they're actually going to be integral and authentic, and that I'm not going to be tricked, because
Mhm.
that is traumatic for me because I don't hold anything back when I am in a relationship. So,
And
I
you
recommend
expect
to
people
anybody out there, do
to do
not
the same.
lie. It just is
Be
not worth it.
honest. Yeah.
Well, I think that the reason why men do that, and at least that's what the feedback that I've gotten, is that they're scared to get rejected. So
Totally.
I get that, but you're starting out a relationship on a bad note, on a lie. I had a man who came to me. Actually, he's come to me many times, and it's really hard. And I'm very honest with him. He's about 5'4". He is very short. And he told me up front, it's like, look, this is how tall I am. This is me. I have a great personality. I make great money. I have a lot to offer. This is it. you can put me in tall shoes, but this is who I am. So if you can help me, please let me know. I said, listen, I have tried actually, because there's some women that don't care. It's not about the height. It's not, I mean, look at how many celebrities the women are. Nicole Kidman, all of her men have been like here to her, and it's all about confidence. You could be the ugliest person in the room, but you walk in with confidence. It's amazing.
I will tell you that my last committed relationship, the person was 5'5".
Wow.
And it was because he was a badass, and he was so authentic. There's nothing sexier than an authentic man.
No.
There is nothing sexier. You hold me on your arm, and you're 5'5", and you can walk down a
He's a
busy
badass.
room. He's a badass.
Yeah.
So
well, that's
look,
what I'm saying. That
be authentic.
Who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I remember actually all these memories now of short men coming up as we're talking about it. I had a colleague, a matchmaker, and I remember meeting her, and her boyfriend came, and she goes, I have to tell you, don't judge me, my boyfriend is very short. I'm like, first of all, who says that? I'm never going to judge anyone, right, for that, and people shouldn't. But the fact that she had to say that is because what society tells us, right? It's like, I get weird looks. We always get weird looks. But you know what? He could not give a flying, what? He walks in the room, and he is the biggest person in the room. And he was probably like, I don't know, 5'6", maybe. And she was about your height, Sequoia, and she had no issue with it, and neither did he. And that confidence is what was so sexy to her.
Well, he didn't let his height define him. He didn't let himself be stuck in that little box of like, oh, I'm the short guy, I'm going to be short forever, nobody's ever going to pay attention to me. If he would have taken that role, then he would have been right. But since he decided like, hey, you know what, I'm going to be myself, it does not matter how short I am, people fed off of that, because like she said earlier, Sequoia said, it's authenticity. Being authentic is the most important thing for anybody, and you could smell that on somebody.
Exactly. I love that. You can smell that on somebody. You really can.
Yeah, you really can.
So interesting. But here's another question. Do women like dad body, or like dad bod, or beast? Please respond. Oh my God, that's so funny you say that, because I have always said, just me personally, most of the clients where I am, which, I'm in Orange County, Southern California, most women, they want a beefcake. Do people still say beefcake?
Yeah, I think you can say that. Yeah.
Whatever. I personally always thought that, if a guy can make me laugh, if he's funny, I don't care if he is a little bit chubby. Chunky to me is actually more attractive, because I don't know why. I think people that are not perfect, physically, they make up for in other ways because they know they're not, so it's their personality, it's being able to make someone laugh. So to me, sense of humor was always number one on the list. But I think women are finally starting to realize that it's not this perfect, Brad Pitt. Or I don't know if he's got a nice body. I'm trying to think of some name. He's got a nice face. Right? Do we know if he's
Thor? Who's Thor? Isn't it Chris? Yeah, what, Chris something?
Yeah, I'm so bad with names. But like Jason Momoa, right? Which I think
he's huge, giant, right?
Huge, but he's not like super fit. Yes, he's muscly and athletic, but he's got a little gut. He's got all those tattoos. I mean, it's sexy, and it's all how you rock it. That's just what I tell my women, and I have to say that usually women are less picky about that kind of stuff, than men. Sure. I mean, first thing I get when a man comes to me, when he signs up, it's usually, I'd like her to be on the thin side. I'm like, yeah, everybody else. I want her to be between this age and this age. And I'm like, criteria. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I had a man tell me, who was probably in his mid to late 50s. He said, I like that anorexic look. I don't want her to have a problem. I don't want her to be bulimic, but I like that anorexic look. And I was like, how do you respond to that? How do you even, I said, that's a problem for you. that's what you, I'm sorry, but to ask for that, it's
Yeah,
to
it's a
want
odd
her to
request.
have that ballerina look. And I'm like, I was a ballerina, but I'm not a size 0, you know. So people like me, you know, I'm overweight, I'm disqualified. I'm like, oh, that's so shallow, right? That is so shallow.
What do you do about that, Julia, when you have a client who's,
Well, I didn't take
asking
him
for
on.
that?
I didn't take him on. He
Yeah.
gave me an envelope full of cash, and you know, I was like, no, you keep it. You need it. We're not doing this. And he was kind of a pretty famous person, but I couldn't. You know, to me that was very unhealthy. And I told him, I said, you don't think that's unhealthy for a woman to be that thin if she's not naturally that thin? Because he really wanted her to work out like 5 hours a day. I'm thinking, what woman, especially a mother, has, first of all, every day working out, every day, right? Because he's like, I work out every day. I want her up at 3, 4 in the morning with me to work out. And he, even in the meeting, he said, you know, I can tell by the size of your knees that you're overweight, and then come work out with me, and your husband's gonna thank me because your sex life is gonna be
Oh
so much
my
better.
gosh.
I was bawling. That was the one time I was actually bawling on my way home.
What a horrible
Because,
thing to say.
oh, bawling. And
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
thinking, I'm like 125 pounds. You know? What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's horrible.
What?
And to
So,
think that somebody would want to change their whole life like that just for him anyway. Like, you have to be perfect in every aspect and get up in the morning and do this and do that. Like, are they serious that everybody's going to check off every single one of those little boxes? That's what
right.
they want.
The way the way the thinking is just so, because he, you know, people like that just start out with the physical. I kind of put people through a test when I
Yeah.
meet with them first, right? It's kind of like, okay, what are you looking for in a partner? If they start out with the physical, immediately all these red flags are going off in my head.
Right.
I want you to start out with kind, good heart, genuine, honest, yeah, all of that, right? And you know, Elisa just said that she'll take the 5'4" guy.
Yeah. She's being
He's
honest.
really cute. You know what?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, do it.
He's such a nice guy, and most women in California and Southern California just will not give him a time of day. You know, and I see Charmin laughing over there.
I met a guy not too long ago and he told me he was 5'4", but I'm 5'8", and I have a lot of short friends, and he really looked like 4'11" to me. They cannot lie about those things. We notice. And whenever they do, I always go back to this joke my mother used to tell when I was a kid. And she said that women were horrible carpenters because we have been told our whole life that this is 6 inches. I honestly think he thought he could tell me he was 5'4", and I could look down on him and not notice.
Oh my God, that is
And I
so
know
funny.
you at 6 foot tall, easy can spot it for sure.
Right? Oh my God, that's so funny. It's
That
that,
is
and
hilarious.
something
That
about me with
joke's
that
40 years old. It's still funny today.
It is very funny. And it's so true.
it reminded me of what my grandma used to say, and I always like remember, you know, some of her advice, which I always say my grandma's advice was terrible, and my mom's same. But once in a while, she had this gems, you know, like what you just shared. And I remember she was telling me, one was that, you know, a man is not a man unless he's hairy from like here down.
Okay.
He has to be hairy or else he's not a man, you know?
Okay.
I don't know if I was complaining about one day, and the men in my family are not hairy at all. Like my dad is proud of like his 2 chest hairs, you know? So I don't know what she was trying to say there.
I think she was digging on your dad.
Yeah. But then I remember I was dating this guy who was, oh my God. I mean, to me, he was a giant, you know, he's probably like 6'4", but to someone who's 5'1", you know, I'm like, you know, just always like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I brought him over one day, really nice guy, but you know, she's like, nah, it's not gonna work. I'm going, what do you mean it's not gonna work? She's like, look at him. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, he's way too tall for you. I'm like, so that's why it's not gonna work? She's like, yeah, no. This is not good. This is not good. You gotta break up. I'm like, what? But again, it's the same thing, you know, where your height, your appearance, it's her way of looking at it was so archaic and it was so old world. Just like what I always joke about what my mom says, if you're ugly, you better wear makeup all the time. You better cook for him all the time and go to bed with makeup if you're ugly. I'm like, Mom, this isn't the 50s. No, it's true. And my dad's like, I couldn't care less if she wears makeup.
Right. Right. But there are a lot of old ideas and especially with older men, they like to think that they're old fashioned and they like to think that that makes them better somehow. But some of those old ideas are really out of date and they're not helping us. We're trying to evolve. I miss having a Dr. Ruth type of woman explaining things to us. How much cooler were we in the 80s and 90s when we were trying to share all of the information and help each other out? We could really benefit from something like that now.
I know. She was a real trailblazer, and
she was wonderful.
She really
it's
was.
amazing just how honest and open, and I think that's what I've tried to do with my kids as well, especially boys, because who really teach us about boys. And I mean, with my 22-year-old, it's always like, her pleasure first. It's like, I got it. I've been hearing about it since I was 12. I got it. It's like, don't worry, she's fine, she's happy. I'm like, okay, good. Because it is
Good
important.
job, Mama Julia. Good job.
That's right.
I mean,
That's right. Good job.
If we don't, then who will? They learn information from their stupid friends, and I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
and
There's-
porn, and and online, and the media, and the movies, and none of that is reality. Just like the birth scenes in movies is not reality. The
Right.
sex scenes are not reality.
Mm-mm.
People aren't always in awe. A lot of them are having sex in the dark because nobody really wants to see what everything is going on. But that
Right.
leaves you to really not know what you're actually doing. Like, you're not really knowing where you're putting that thing. Come on, let's have the lights on. Let's put your face down there. Let's really see what's going on.
Well, and what a great point too. You talked about how some trauma survivors can have muscle pain because the body keeps the score, and there's a lot going on down there with the female anatomy, and if you don't spend some time to learn about it, how are you ever going to make sure a woman enjoys your company? We had a Dick Duck on Elisa's podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he has this theory that if you expand the girth of a penis to 7 inches, it will give a woman so much pleasure. After 30 seconds, she will have a 15-minute orgasm and pass out. And I was so fascinated by this statement. I said, get a woman up here. I want to hear someone who's experienced it.
I really
7 inches in girth. None of the women think this sounds like a good time. And the girth is clearly where it is at, right? Because there's a lot of stuff going on the sides that people don't really function in. And how can we teach the men how to properly use everything that's going on down there?
Okay, so can I say one thing, Julia?
Yes, please.
Okay. So first of all, that sounds like a dick roofie, meaning you're going to knock someone out by fucking them to death. Like, why would you want that? I mean,
a 15-minute orgasm. I was like, okay, get a woman up here who's had one. I want to hear this story.
I've had extended orgasms that last longer than 15 minutes.
Tantra.
But it's not because of the girth. And so let me just set the record straight for men out there. It's not about your size. The pleasure sensation area is about 2 inches into the introitus, which is the opening of the vaginal and the vulva. Okay, so it's not about how big it is. It's not about how long it is. It's what you do with that. And the most important thing to know about the women's anatomy of arousal is that it takes from 20 to 30 minutes for it to get engorged. A woman is not ready to be penetrated until she has been turned on for 20 to 30 minutes. So stop fucking her immediately and start pleasuring her immediately. And and know that that pussy is actually going to swell up and hug your cock beautifully and suck on it, and you're never going to want to have anything more than that. But I'm telling you, do not fuck her to death. She's not going to like it. She's not going to have an orgasm. And if you really want to have pleasure with her and feel what it feels like when her pussy comes all over you, you make sure that that yummy, succulent flower is engorged and juicy and open. If it's not, don't go in, because you're not going to enjoy it, because she's not going to enjoy it. And if she doesn't enjoy it, you're not going to have it regularly. And I'm telling you that. That's from Sequoia.
Sequoia gives the best advice ever.
For this. Let's do a round.
I'm impressed. I mean, like, I did some of those words. I was like,
ever.
wow, even the words. I'm like, good job, Sequoia.
That. We need more Sequoia every week.
Yeah,
that was
Sequoia,
fantastic. The one of the things the Dick Doc said is that guys don't want to do an hour's worth of hard labor. How do we restructure that theory so that hour is the best hour of their day?
Dick Doc does not talk for every guy. That's the problem. Is that you say that guy said that. That doesn't mean anything.
That guy thinks this.
That guy.
How do we redo it?
He makes penises this big around. You have to question everything about him.
Thank you.
I think the succulent gorging of the pussy is exactly what men needed to hear.
I hope she's a writer. I hope you're a writer.
Can we get her to? Leaf,
I am a writer. I've already done 2 books, so I'm on my 3rd right now, and I'll let you know.
I'll buy every one of them.
That's fantastic. Audiobooks? Is that on audiobook?
It's Hard is on audiobook, but my second one, I'm Not Jealous, is not.
With your voice. But I was just going to say that was the first clip of the show I saw was him on there. And I was so disgusted and I was so turned off. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? What does he say? Is this real? I mean, is this real? So I think I emailed Elisa and I said, this is a joke, right? This isn't a real doctor. This isn't a real person. It's a character. It's like what you were talking about, Sharon, about an online personality. And it's like, no, these are all real people.
These are real,
These are real people.
Can I say something else? I actually teach non-ejaculatory orgasm for men. That's actually one of the main things men come to me for. Excuse the pun. They actually
audience over here. You can't see them, but there's my entire family is here listening.
Oh, whoops!
They love puns.
Hi guys, sorry. But yeah, so non-ejaculatory orgasm is not having an ejaculation, but having orgasm, and it can go on. It's like female extended orgasm, where you can have an orgasm after orgasm after orgasm. But I teach it for men and women. But I have a lot of men who come to see me for non-ejaculatory orgasm.
So they don't come.
So they don't. They do come. They just don't ejaculate. So I have to disagree with this dude who's saying that, they don't want to work hard for an hour. Are you kidding? Every man who comes to see me, he wants to be able to last for hours and hours and hours because he wants to, make love for multiple hours.
And doesn't want to do the work.
Yeah.
And
he wants to sell more penises. So he's just like, this is what you guys need. You don't want to do the work? Here you go.
I do believe that men will actually go under the knife thinking that this is their problem.
Yeah, that's insane.
This is my problem. I need this because this is why I'm not getting the women, or this is why they're not orgasming. I have no words. I'm sorry.
Well, it's just,
go ahead.
Oh, I'm just going to say, like, it's delusional, because for you to, if you think that just one aspect of that is going to fix everything, then you're so hyper focused on that. That's probably why it's not working the right way. You have to be a complete picture. You can't just be like, oh, if I fix my penis, then I'll have all the girls. Or if I get rich, I'll have all the girls. No, make yourself appealing. Then you'll have the girls. Make yourself not boring. Be honest. I mean, it's pretty simple, but we just want to hack, just like an over-the-night diet pill. But you can't have one. There's not one.
Yeah. We live in a convenience society. We want the pill. We want the injection. We want the chemical that's going to make the perfect body, the fountain of youth to erase all the wrinkles. But here's the thing. This is perpetuated by porn. And the reality behind the porn is that those men have done some of these procedures. They're injecting their
Oh, yeah.
penises. They're taking
So much
Viagra and
medication.
Cialis, and then our youngsters are watching these things and then
Mhm.
comparing their genitalia to that. And now you have societies of men who think that their size and their shape is not right, and then you have groups of women who also
thing.
are cutting their labia off
Mm.
because of porn pussy. I mean, we have a problem.
It's not
with-
pretty
We have
enough.
a lot
It's-
of problems.
It's horrible what is happening, and it's all based on physical appearance. And I'm telling you, it is not healthy to look at your genitalia and say, I want to alter it somehow. God made you the way it made you, and if you can understand and decode how it works, and most people are not being taught the anatomy of arousal for the man or the woman. That is the main thing that I teach. And once people get it, then they can completely fly as high as they possibly can when they realize their body is the most amazing instrument. And all you need to do is learn how to play it like you learn how to play a guitar.
Wow.
And once you do that, it's phenomenal.
So right. Yeah, Sequoia, please.
That's what I'm
You're
talking about.
You're
Just
amazing.
learn how to
You
play
really
your
are amazing.
instrument, people.
Listen,
That's
we
right.
started
Spot on.
out with dating, online dating. This is what happens when I have these. It just goes in all different directions, but it's always in the best possible way. So we have a question or a comment from Tricep Bra. Names. I'm sorry. Come on.
Can we give a piece of advice to all the men?
Somebody
This
has a
question
crush.
came up earlier about whether or not women like dad bodies or beefcakes. And I don't think it really matters, but my advice to men is always do your push-ups. Should you find yourself in a situation with a beautiful woman underneath you, you do not want your arms to shake.
That is good advice, girl.
That is
My
good.
advice, do your push-ups.
Do your push-ups. And Sequoia, what is your opinion on ball? I think someone's trying to ask you out here.
Yeah, this
Because
tricep, he likes you.
He does. Does she find that a turn on or a turn off? Balding men?
Did you say baldman?
Balding.
Oh, balding. You know what?
Of course.
I think I've already answered this question. I don't, the physical body is not what's important to me. I'm 51 and I'm very fit. I obviously want someone who can sustain
all that.
energy and have the stamina to keep up with this one. And I used to be an endurance athlete. So,
Wow.
if you can't have the stamina, probably don't want to go into the kitchen
Uh-oh,
with me.
Tricep. Tricep's working out right now. He's doing those push-ups.
But I don't care if you're bald or you're anything else. Just be a
There
good
you
human
go.
being and show women and animals good respect and children.
Just
and I'll be
asking
fine.
general questions. Okay.
He's like, no.
Yeah, no.
Just
So,
curious.
Yeah, it's so funny, like where these things go, but this is the best way. And we're way over the time limit that I had for this. But I just want to thank all of you for being so honest and being here and talking. And we're going to keep doing this every week. So whoever wants to come, I would absolutely love it. I want to remind everyone, if you actually have questions, so I'm not fumbling here, this is why I asked for you guys to send in ahead of time so I can be prepared, because, we can go on tangents, which is fine. So you can always visit my website, matchbyjulia.com. You can send in questions through there. You can email and, give us other topics. I mean, we'll continue talking about this because people need it. And yes, Sequoia is amazing. She's definitely coming back. You guys all are amazing. So
Good.
Thank you for having us.
thank you guys
you.
for just making this interesting and fun and being honest, really, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, my
Absolutely.
Thank you, Julia.
clapping over there. So thank you guys, and we'll do this again soon.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
No, I just said thank you. Thank you
Lord,
for
you're
hosting this. You're amazing, and I love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Oh, I can't wait to see you. And thank you so much. And get better, Sherman. I kicked her off too. Say, I don't know what I'm doing.
You did a great job. You did a fantastic job.
I'm kicking them off. I'm bringing them back on. Anyway,
Yeah.
We love you guys. Thank you so much. And just, come back next week, subscribe, and we'll be here. We'll talk about everything. Thank you, CJ, so much. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys. Thank you.